Good morning, dear all. I'm Jianlong from Tongji University of Shanghai. Today, my presentation is about Shanghai, the public space for everyday life. Please look at the picture. This drawing is from the former master artist He Youzhi. He is a very famous artist in China. In this drawing shows the active daily life in the former Shanghai Lilong block. And this drawing also the cover design of the book of Architecture in Shanghai, History, Culture, and Identity, edited by Professor Matteo Mascatli. So for me, I also wrote a paper. The topic is about the Shanghai urban evolution, microgeneration of the waterfront space. The topic is about the public space, mainly focused on the waterfront space in Shanghai. So my presentation consists of three parts. One is the mega city and the high density city, Shanghai. The second part is the public space and everyday life. The third part is the potential public space, urban linear waterfront space, the case of Yangshu Pu Gang canal. So now the first, the mega city and the high density city of Shanghai. As you know, Shanghai is one of the cities with more than 10 million people. Followed the National Development Reform Commission, the People's Republic of China, the principle to define the city starting from the small city in China, less than 500,000. It will be titled with small city. Middle city is the 500,000 to 1 million. And the big city will be 1 million to 5 million. And also the extra big city from 5 million to 10 million. Shanghai is a mega city. It means more than 10 million population living in this city. And in China, the ranking of the city, the first one is the Chongqing, around 29 million. And Shanghai, the second, 24.2 million. And Beijing will be the third, around 21.73 million. And Tianjin, the fourth one, 15.62 million. Guangzhou, 17.6 million, and Shenzhen, 11.91 million, and also the Wuhan, the 11.22 million. So the red dot shows the Shanghai, the city in China, and the location in Yangtze River Delta. The red dot shows the center of the Shanghai. Of course, Shanghai, tend to be a mega city. It has a long period starting from the beginning of the 50s. The evolution of the Shanghai population based on the nationwide census, we divided the two parts. One is the household population, the other one is the non-native population. Non-native population means the people living in Shanghai, but they came from other provinces or other cities. So since 1953, Shanghai owned 6.2 million. Then 1964, 10.82 million. 1982, 11.86 million. Then 1990, totally 13.34 million. Since this year, we can see the non-native population created. It means in China, based on the policy of the reform and the opening, people could move freely. So they can, from other provinces, from the rural area or from the other cities, move to the Shanghai to be the citizen here. And then in 2000, totally around 16.4 million. And then 10 years ago was 23.202 million. And 10 years ago, the non-native population already reached around 39%. This year, 2020, will be the 7th nationwide census, and we will see the result of the population in Shanghai. Based on the data of last year, it could be the 25 million in the end of this year. And also the evolution of the Shanghai urban spatial system. In the last 20 years, we had several projects that we titled with the pilot projects. The pilot project 1, since 2001 to 2005. It means the 10th five-year plan of the national economic and social development. So that time, the project 1 was titled One City and 9 Towns. Pilot project 2 from 2006 to 2010 followed the 11th five-year plan of the national economic and social development. It was titled Shanghai 1966 Urban System Planning. 3 years ago, Shanghai had a new project titled with the Shanghai 2035 Comprehensive Planning. 20 years ago, Project 1, the One City and 9 Towns. It means one city, the Songjiang new city, and then the 9 new towns, including Anting, Lingang, Zhujia, Jiaofeng, Jing, and so on. It shows us the spatial structure of the Shanghai at that time. Then the pilot project 2, titled with Shanghai 1960 Urban System Planning. That's from the 2006 to 2010. It means one central city. It shows the downtown. 9, and in this central town, around 600 square kilometers of the outer ring road of Shanghai. Then the 9 new towns with total population of 5.4 million, including Baoshan, Jiading, Qingpu, and so on. Then 60 new towns with the population, each one of the 50,000 or 100,000 or 150,000 population. Then the 600 central village. The central village is the basic rural residential unit with the basic public service facilities. This project hopes to eliminate the difference between the urban and the rural. It's a strategy of transfer the population from the central town to the suburbs. Then 3 years ago, Shanghai had a new project, 20 2031, the comprehensive planning. And this will be finished in the end of the 2035. But this is not today's topic. I just want to show you there is in the past 20 years, Shanghai already had 3 projects. So now goes to the organization of structure of and the evolution of the public space in the contemporary society. As you know, because of the reform and the opening policy since 1978, the market economic facilitates the free movement of people. In the process of the rapid urbanization that taking place in the last 42 years, in the end of the 2019, last year, China's urbanization rate already reached 60%. So that means so many people moved to the central town or the city, including the small city, middle city, big city, and a mega city, to change to be the citizen in the city. And the city social structure is changing from the hierarchical form to a flat form. It means it's a common, the city is for the common people. And the hierarchical urban space are replaced by the flat, homogeneous urban space. And also the narrative of the public space from the former form to the micro form. We said space, people, events are important features of the contemporary urban public space. And also the narrative of the urban public space is totally changed. And that's the real meaning of the place, the microspace, the space for the everyday life. China's contemporary social structure and the change of the lifestyle have a direct impact on the organization of the urban public space. The narrative of the public space is changing the expression of the abstract will. The community ground narrative is now no longer a single narrative. The gradually emerging narrative is either centered on the specific individuals or on the interplay between the individual and the collective. So this is totally changed because of the new contemporary urban city. The new public space, which demands more performance for the bottom-up features, is focused on the return to daily life and on the respect of the individual expression of the will and the needs of each inhabitant. The public space is based on the individual thought pattern is also the main cultural value embodied in the design of the future. The public spatial narrative mood and the combination mood model have enveloped appearing as some kind of regression to the Chinese traditional narrative way. That's small and homogeneous, and to the characteristics of the urban public space developed by the contemporary Chinese citizens. And how to understand the public space and everyday life. As you know, Shanghai is a mega city with the 6,340 square kilometers and around 24.3 million people living in the city. since the end of the last year. Although the city has the National Forest Park and the city public open space like Huangpu River waterfront and Suzhou Creek waterfront, and each district also has the set number of the big municipal parks. But all these public space are far from the dwelling blocks, not just the public space nearby the residential quarter. So people couldn't frequently to use this public space. So local residents always use the public space nearby to carry their daily life, such as the mini garden, mini square, little canal waterfront. People regard this small public space as their community living room, not guest room. The daily public activities and the informal activities take place in this space every day. The user, including the senior and junior people, kids, and even the migrant workers, defined the city as the arrival city. Because of the accessibility and the publicity and the diversity, it brings the vitality of the everyday life. So that's the key point. So public space, the space activities, public events generates the public space. Daily narrative is a kind of narration just to the daily life, the daily events, and the ordinariness of life. It means causality, there is the inevitability, occasionality with the regularity. So that you see that this picture shows the ground Huangpu River, and around the Huangpu river's bank, we already created totally 48 kilometers the waterfront space with the greens, with the pedestrian, and with the service. But this is only, for my opinion, this is only for the guests or tourists, because all the residential quarters has the distance between the residential quarter to this waterfront. So, like for my experience, I only visited these places 2 times last year. So it means it's not any relationship with the daily life. But the mini garden, the mini park nearby the dwelling area or the residential quarter, it's useful because the local residents use these places every day. And like this, the small pieces of sports land and also the pedestrian area is for the daily life. And also some small campo in the shopping center also created everyday events for the residents surrounding. So that's the key point. So now the second part is talking about the public space and everyday life. The public space and everyday life, well, I already mentioned Shanghai is a mega city, totally 24.3 million people. But for the everyday life, for the scale of the daily life, is still it's the same as before. No any change, no any region with the mega. Mega is not important. It's not important for each person living in this city. We just care the mini park, mini campo, or the pieces of small open space near our residential quarter. So local residents always use the public space nearby to carry their life. I already mentioned the mini garden, small square, little canal waterfront. So that's the very important because of the accessibility and the publicity and the diversity. It presents the vitality of the everyday life. Please look at this picture that shows the green space system of Shanghai 20 years ago. It's a very good system, green system design, but all the national forest park or the green is really far away from the center, from the downtown. So based on how to understand the public life, public everyday life, there are several theoretical references for you to understand the public life and the public space. First one is the Kevin Lynch. His work about the image of the city, the site planning, and a good city form. In this book, Kevin Lynch defining the user and the 5 elements of the urban images have been widely used in the urban design to construct a more legible environment as pace, age, district, node, and landmark. The second one is the Hermann Hertzberger, the book Lessons for Students in Architecture. He defined the characteristics of the space with public, private, collective, and individual activities. The third one is Oscar Newman, Defensible Space, the crime prevention through the urban design. He defined the defensible space with public space, semi-public space, semi-private space, and private space. The fourth one is Yang, the book Life Between Buildings Using Public Space. He defined the public life with necessary activities, optional activities, social activities. Each type of activity has very different requirements for the physical environment. So, what's the real meaning of the public space as a place? A place has a center and edge, and the spatial strength is proportional to the square of the distance. The space in which an event occurs as conditional elements with 4. One is the spatial form suitable for activities dealing with the scale. The second one is spatial capacity suitable for the activities dealing with the modular of the space. The third one is the duration, time of the activity dealing with the time. And then the accessibility for activities dealing with the convenience. So these 4 are the conditional elements of a public space as a place. And the public space for everyday life. I already mentioned that Shanghai is a municipality directly under the control of the central government of China. It's a megacity with the 24.3 million people, and with totally consists of the 16 districts. Although its footprint on the territory is becoming bigger and bigger, for the common people, the size of the city and the scale of dwelling space for every day are relatively stable, as based either on the walking distance in the Shanghai new comprehensive planning, already mentioned that we will do the plan for with the radius of the 500 meters or by walk, and also the biking distance with the radius of 1,000 meters. So this is the basic scale of the everyday life. The residence areas, the housing block, the streets, the squares, and the waterfronts are therefore all represent the scale of the microspace. So we titled with the microspace. So public space as for everyday life with the meaning of the microspace. So this is the map of the Shanghai. This picture I scanned from the book, I think already 10 years ago, shows that. But this satellite, the picture, I think already at least 20 years, shows the town center of this city. And this is here is the Tongji University. It shows the new urban area in the Shanghai. This picture shows the daily life. What's the daily life? That's queen in front of the shops and walking around the sidewalk, and also they have the lunch in the small and the mini park, or leisure time in the mini park. So we have a lot of this kind of the space, but in former times we didn't listing all this microspace in our urban public space system. So now we should deal with all these mini small space. So there is the urban regeneration system. In the recent years, the fast financial development of the Shanghai fostered the extension and urban regeneration process. The city is experiencing a huge change in the waterfronts public space, promoted by the intervention of the government and sustained by the big economic developers, mainly consists of the top-down urban regeneration plan. But at the same time, in the neighborhoods, the spontaneous bottom-up public participation is injecting a new kind of the energy in the urban micro-regeneration process. That's it. I think it is more important than the top-down. As to their size, scale, and spatial quantity, this kind of the operation are totally different from the top-down construction and the regeneration intervention. It's a completely different evolution that reflects the public life season and express the real identity of the space in front of the water, which in this case can host good neighborhood relationship, turning the presence of the social daily life, everyday life of the waterfront space from the negative to positive. So the third part, I want to talking about the potential public space, the urban linear waterfront space, mainly focused on the case of the Yangshu Pu Gang canal. So back to the city, the water system. Shanghai is located in the Yangtze River Delta region. So it has abundant water environment in the dense system of the river and the lakes. In addition to the Huangpu River and to the Suzhou Lake, they represent the urban water system that at the large scale. Shanghai also includes a dense system of small canals, intimately linked with the urban block. This is very important. That reaches the public daily life, everyday life, and constitute the narrative of the active micro-urban public space. That are the main facade of the urban life. So this picture joined around 120 years ago. It illustrated the river system in Shanghai. So you will see that this is the Huangpu River and this is the Suzhou Creek. And also, there were many small canals inside the town. And also in this picture from 1910, also please focus on these places. It's very rich and the density of the rivers, small canal. So that's why I want to focus on this small canal, because so many residential area just link to the small canal. The potential public space, urban linear waterfront space, it shows the bottom-up way and the micro-regeneration. So I will select the Yangshu Pu Gang canal, including the upstream Zhoumatang canal. It's one of the little canal in Yangshu Pu district near Tongji campus. It has the characteristic of the public space carry the local everyday life. The lecture also shows the evolution of this important little canal in the city water system and present the micro-regeneration of the waterfront space around the canal in recent years. As you know, it's not the small canal has a long history. In the very early time, it's mainly for the transportation of the city. But from 1970s to 80s, because of the mass construction of the infrastructure, road transportation replaced the river and the canal transportation. At the same time, the urban land subsidence, as well as the city sewage collect system and the treatment facilities lag, started to produce high pollution level, and thus making the waterfront from the front facade to back facade of the urban life. And all this space tend to be the negative space. You know, there's the former river. It's a very rich and very for the city life, but because of the extension of the city and the population of the city increasing, so all these canals tend to be the sewage system. It's a really bad situation in that time. So this picture shows the Huangpu River and the Suzhou Creek and the many small canals. So this is the Yangshu Pu Canal and connected with the Huangpu River and also the upstream with the Zhoumatang. So I just selected this small canal as a case study. So this picture shows the connection, the water gate with the Huangpu River. Outside this gate is Huangpu River. So it's connected with the ground river. And this is the inside part of the Yangshu Pu Gang canal. And you see, look at here, there are also small water gate. It's also connected with the many small drainage mainly collected the rainwater. It's still in function. And here also, this is the upstream of the Zhongmatang. But in the 80s and 90s, because of the lack of the city land, so the municipal government transformed. They just covered this small canal and used the space above transform the space, use the space as a sports area, also near the campus. And here in Pudong, covered the canal and used the space as a marketplace. So covering, so how to deal with all this space, the potential public space, the urban linear waterfront space. The small story is starting from the end of the 80s, Shanghai municipal government start to construct the new sewage system instead of the natural canal. And all these projects ended in the end of the last century. In 1996, Shanghai municipal government made a new decision and basically decided to eliminate the black and white fall of Suzu Creek water before 2000, and to totally clear the river water in 2001. The project was successfully completed. This gradually changed the water quality of the rivers and canals, including the Yangshu Pu Gang. The clean and high quality water network system was brought back to the urban life, hence generating a public demand for a stronger regeneration of the waterfront public space. So how was the regeneration strategy? In the process of the waterfront public space regeneration, it's important to analyze three unavoidable key issues. There is three. One is one regards the reopen the covered canal. The second one is to focus on the connection between the urban block space and the canal space. So this is very important. The third one is to refer to the creation of the hydrophilic waterfront space. Through the work by the community planner, community architects, and the community landscape architects, some initial answers to these issues are start to rise. So this is the basic data information about the Yangshu Pu Gang Canal, including the Zhongmatang Canal, the upper stream, and the Shiping Keji Park, and also the Yangshu Pu Gang Canal, because all these canal are connected and finally connect with the Huangpu River. So this is the part of the scenery of the canal. This part is Zhongmatang, the upstream of the Yangshu Pu Gang. So you see the micro regeneration of all this waterfront already created a space for the daily life for the residents nearby. The regeneration of the public landscape resource, this is also very important because of there are many residential quarters and blocks located on the two sides of the Yangshu Pu Gang Canal. In the regeneration process, many canal fronts, well, in former times were occupied by the residential quarter and block. It means just were also isolated with the fence and the guard, only used for the residents in the residential quarters. But you know, this resource is the landscape resource is for the public. So that's very important in the to change the private property to become the public part. So it means to open this fence and offer all these public landscape resources to the public is very important. So the openness of the public space is the critical point of the regeneration process. For the urban waterfront area, the question is the same. Sharing the public resource is a necessity of the contemporary society. To solve this problem, the only way is to open the waterfronts, retreat the fence of the residential quarters, reconnecting the passage of the waterfront and opening the public facilities to the common user. You see, all isolated and only used for the block nearby. The second part is reconstructing the hydrophilic waterfront. It means because all these canals still used for the water prevention. So the flood water prevention wall is still existing. So how to create this hydrophilic waterfront crossing over is very important to create the terrace to the water and offering more comfortable water space for the local residents. All should be based on the flood prevention principle. This is still, we should remain this principle. So please look at this new regeneration. We already to do this opening and crossing the flood prevention wall. So it created a very high quality. Some are very just a basic design. Some are very high quality design, but it's functional for the residents nearby. So like this is the former times, and this right now already, I think I already finished in the beginning of this year. And also another part is about using the local material. The local material are an important aspects of the spatial environment for the inhabitants' sense of identity. Different region, different city, different district, and the different block. The local material is familiar by the local residents. I think it's a very important identity or sense of the identity of the local inhabitants. Of course, the native vegetation. Designers should select the natural vegetation on the waterfront in relationship with the function and the landscape. And it's also to deal with the topic of the low cost, low technique, and low energy. And also the construction of the ecological river bank. The construction of the ecological river bank is due to the restoration work of a community of riparian plants and the restoration of the water. So this also answers the requirement of the river close to nature and also the low cost, low tech, and low energy. So see, right now, all these created for the local residents around the Yangshu Pu Canal. So, for the conclusion, no matter how big the city is, based on the human body and behavior, the scale of the life space is the same as before. So, for the mega and high density city of Shanghai, the new flat structure already created. And we should mostly focus on the microspace nearby the residential area. The second is deal with the public space and everyday life. Most important is accessibility, and the diversity of the space, public space. Then the third, the potential public space, dealing with the urban linear waterfront space. In Shanghai, so many small canals located all the downtown and in the city. So we should pay more attention to the self-organized public space and do the micro-regeneration. So that's all for my presentation. Thanks a lot. Bye.